the Umbani Chronicles, and I am joined once again by Jocelyn Short.
Hey, hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Jocelyn is a concept artist and digital creator, so if you need logos, character concepts, and things alike, please check her out. Once I get this episode uploaded, there will be a link to her website if you're interested in any of her artwork or commissioning her. Today we're discussing Trigun, the Stampede, which is a remake of the series that I think came out from 95 to 97 back in the day. There was a manga that was really popular, and there was also an anime that I watched off and on. I didn't really follow the entire series, but I did catch a few episodes back in the day. I rewatched the first episode today, basically about a post apocalyptic world. Um, and Vash the Stampede is this character that's known as the human tornado because everywhere he goes, destruction seems to follow. And there are apparently a slew of bounty hunters because there's a $60 billion bounty on his head. So everybody wants him. So the destruction that follows him really isn't his fault. It's just that people come to try and collect on the bounty and blow the cities and towns up that he's kind of going through, but he gets the blame for it. Um, there's also he blew up a town through his like himself, and so that's part of the rumor as well. But they changed the story up a little bit so that the telling is different. You watched the first episode, correct, of the new one?
Yeah, I watched the first episode of the new one. I've not seen the original one.
Hmm.
So I would love context for the original one. I liked what I saw of the first episode. I really like Vash as a character so far. I'm curious if he's different in this new version as opposed to the original.
He's updated very much. The first one, obviously in the '90s, was. Have you watched Aeon Flux?
Yes.
The like
I
the
saw the movie. I saw the movie.
I'm talking about like the liquid
Oh, the
TV
actual,
anime
like,
that used to be
anime.
on anime
No,
from back in the day.
no, I no, but I was pressed for the movie when it came out because I knew of Aeon Flux, but I
Yeah,
didn't, like, read the comics or the
yeah. The
manga.
OG Trigun is more akin to that. I say because his face is so thin. He's got really spiky blonde hair, uh, almost where it's like it's low on the sides and like these like really exaggerated spikes on the top of his head.
Mhm.
And he's tall, really slender in this like red trench coat. So the version that you saw of the updated one is a take on that, but he's got more of a fade on the side,
Yeah.
and he's got hair on top of his head, but it's not as exaggeratedly spiky as it was in the OG one.
Is he
Um,
meant to be younger in this new version? Like, is he older in the older one?
I think both of them they're meant to be younger, but he is younger. There's a thing with him and his brother Knives that they have something in their DNA that makes them age really slowly.
Ah,
So they may actually be older than they present as, but um, they look young.
gotcha.
Um, and
Okay.
in this one, I believe they start on like their ship. That you see them as young children, and the escape pods as the ship is somehow being destroyed. You see them as kids go off, and then you don't see his brother Knives anymore, and it's pretty much you following. Uh, they changed it up a lot because in the new one that you watched, they're reporters. They're
Okay.
basically the guy who's always smoking a cigarette is driving the jeep, and then he keeps calling her newbie. Um, and they're the ones following the trail, and it's meant to be they're following the trail for a story, like they're trying to like a magazine or a news story that they're looking
Yeah.
for. So they're following this. It's kind of funny because they have like this wanted poster. Everybody has this wanted poster, which obviously it's him. And if you look at the image on the wanted poster, it's closer to the one that you see in the OG
Right. Right.
Trigon. But then when you actually introduce to Vash, who I believe, spoilers if you all haven't seen it, then we're just talking about it. But we usually give that warning before we start talking about things. When you first see Vash in the updated version, I believe he's hanging somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. I was afraid when they first cut to him hanging upside down or kind of being strung up by his feet.
Yeah.
I thought that and you see his back is to us. And I
Yes.
thought that his face was going to be ravaged. Like, I thought we were going to get a reveal because I don't know anything about this character. I thought he was going to turn around and his face was going to be ravaged by the
Ooh.
birds that we had
Oh, you thought it
seen.
was gonna be like some horror thing?
Yeah, I did. And I was like, oh man, I don't know what I got myself into here. I was for it either way. But, and then we see his hand move and I was like, oh, he's still alive and like lucid because he gave us a little peace sign. So I was like, okay. So I thought at first I really thought it was a horror scene, you know.
Mm.
And then it turned out to not be that at all.
Yeah, it was interesting. The art style is updated. The visuals, there's a lot more, obviously, because of the time change, with regard to the technology we have access to now. There's a lot more 3D layering inside the animation that we see in this show. So the art style, I believe, was really well done, with the up-to-date visuals. Um, and like I said, the more striking of the changes are how we're introduced to the characters. In the OG one, actually, there are two characters that are starting to trail him are part of some insurance company,
Mm,
and they're worried about the premiums, I guess, that people are having to pay because the damage that is following this dude around wherever he travels to. So they're trying to mitigate some of these damages because the
yeah.
company, I guess, is losing a lot of money. Um, Another difference I see is that it's kind of microwave, with the new one. Like,
Mm,
they really piecemeal the story out in the old version, where you're slowly introduced to a cadre of characters. Whereas, I watched all 7 episodes, and fairly early on, we're given Nick's Wolf's Blood, which is kind of a famous character, that has this huge gun he carries in this case that looks like a giant cross.
mhm.
And at first, they're wondering what's in the case that he's carrying, not knowing that that's a weapon. And then he also acts as like a last rites person. When someone dies, he would pretend to be a priest and start praying over this person. Um, but yeah, they give that character you really early in the new one, whereas I felt it was teased out a lot more in the OG version of the story.
How do you feel like do you feel like the impact of that it hits different? Like, is it better? Is it worse? Both, neither? Like, how do
I
you
was
feel
kind
about
of indifferent to it. It was still interesting. They end up giving you some background story later on his character in particular as you get through the other episodes. It's just not the story's not strung out for as long a time with the new anime, I feel like. And obviously it's condensed because there are a lot less episodes. We're only given for this run, I think 7 or 8 episodes, whereas I forget however many it's long. There were like 4 seasons of episodes for the original
Wow.
Trigun. So maybe it's condensed for a reason because they're trying to give you that much story in a lot less episodes. So they kind of have to speed up how fast we get the cast of characters.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in watching the original one just off of this first episode. I like it a lot. But I'm curious with the original series because a lot of animes, especially older ones, that go on for a long time. And 4 seasons is not even that long of a time, I don't think, for an anime per se.
Yeah.
But like, do you feel like a lot of those episodes, like, do you feel like there's filler episodes or like the okay.
Not only are there filler episodes, but I think uh, this new series takes itself a lot more seriously than the OG Trigun. Trigun before seems a lot more slapsticky, a lot more silly. You see more of a goofy side to Vash's character, where they only give it to you in like he just seems kind of off sometimes in this newer version where he's kind of goofy. He likes food and he's kind of a pacifist. He doesn't want to kill, so that as people are actively trying to kill him, and he's trying not to be violent. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition of characters. But what I mean by slapsticky, in the very first episode, they have a scene where he's literally crawling around on the ground like a weird spider as people are shooting him and rocks, bullets are bouncing off the rocks, and he's on all fours in this weird like spider-like crab walk zigzagging away. Um, so it's a lot more slapsticky. It doesn't take itself as seriously. It's meant to have more of a comical vibe to it, I feel, than the updated version. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just think it leans more into the comedy and the kind of the goofiness of anime versus. You can tell. I think that I don't know if you felt the same. Did you feel like it was kind of slapsticky or goofy at all, or do you think it was more serious what you watched of the first episode?
I thought I felt like the show, like, because I feel like the first episode is giving me a sense of what, like, the tone of the entire show. So I felt like the story is led by drama but carried through to the end through some comedy. So I felt like it felt like about 40-60 drama to comedy, um as a ratio, kind of. And if
Okay.
I like, if you're saying that you like that it was mostly slapstick in the original, like, this felt not, it felt not like that. Based on what you're saying, it didn't feel as much like slapstick. There was funny moments. I think Vash is a very charismatic character. Like, I really like him. The young girl who's a reporter, there was some funny moments with her. uh, but I feel like it probably wasn't as much humor as the original, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
That's what it felt like.
he's constantly being a caricature in the first one, in the original one, where he's
Gotcha.
being really goofy with they have him pause and make like a really exaggerated smile and try and slink off when he realizes he doesn't have any bullets in his gun as he's trying to retaliate against. And so he stops and almost does like, it looks like he's doing the robot as he walks away slowly, and they just start raining bullets at him. So it's done for comical effect a lot more. And there aren't that many moments like that in this updated version. It feels like they're actively seeing him freak out, but it's not as silly when he starts freaking out and he's running away and trying to hide from people shooting at him. It's not done for comical effect as much, I think, with this new series. But
I
like I
think
said, I love the art direction.
I feel like I feel like the like where the high comedy was probably in the original for Vash. I feel like they're replacing the high comedy with, like, um a, a character kind of, not trope, but um archetype of, like, this guy is just really really lucky. So, like, he's like rushing forward to fight, like, he's like, everybody get to safety. And then he's rushing forward to fight these people. Meanwhile, he doesn't have any bullets in his gun, and then he starts freaking out about not having bullets,
Yeah,
which was unexpected. Like, don't you know what you're doing? Why are you here? and
yeah,
so, and then he gets the gun, and then it's this big show with all the zooms that just anime, that anime be doing. And it's all this cool stuff, and you see Vash kind of show who he is as, like, a fighter, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah. And then after that whole thing, he's like, that was lucky. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. I'm glad somebody gave you a bullet.
yeah. They really kind of play up the space western, I believe, aspect of the anime too, in the new, in both shows actually, but in this one in particular, when did he go to, like, because when they drive off with the reporters that take him in the little jeep and they stop off at the next town after they find him hanging upside down, don't they go into like a saloon
Yeah.
type, and there's a lady with a little kid who's running around trying to show everybody his bugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so they're playing up on that. He has the moment with the kid and the characters in the town that's losing money. They've got this crazy nuclear reactor that's running the city, and one of the plants looks sick, and then we find out later that those plants actually belong to him and his brother Knives that come off of that ship.
Wow.
um, so yeah, it's an interesting show. I like the episodes that we got thus far, and I'm probably going to do the same thing as go back and rewatch the OG ones to see how they compare. But just juxtaposing, and there's just some slight changes to some of the characters, and I feel like this is a more condensed version of that. They just packed all it into like one season. It may not be, of course, it's not the entire, but we get a lot in a few episodes that they don't. I don't think get through in the first season of the OG one. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of a condensed experience, but it's still a good experience.
Yeah.
I do. It was kind of funny watching the OG one and seeing like the letterbox. So I had the black bars on the side because it was not meant for like a 16:9 screen. So they got these big black bars on the sides of your screen as you're watching. The intro is different. The music is like electric guitar. So they got the electric guitar, the rock music from the OG
Yeah.
anime playing as they're showing you stills of the characters and vistas and scenes. And so they've updated the music on this new one, which was fun. A lot of them are doing that now, where it's updated versions of the music. And I like that some of them still stick to kind of even though it's not really my genre, but I don't know, it just kind of matches when I'm watching the anime.
I really like the music. Like the theme song at the end played, and is it the same as the intro?
I think so.
Okay,
For the
I
new one,
like it a lot.
yeah,
Like that song slaps. But I can definitely hear the guitars. Like
yeah,
you're telling me it's guitars for the original. I can hear it. I can hear it just based off of the tone of the show. Like I I love it. I I like it a lot. But yeah, I like the song that is there. It sounds really cool. I also really like the art style. You started talking about the art style before. Um, I like this type of animation. I feel like it fits for what they're trying to achieve, I think,
yeah.
with the show. Like it's fluid, I really think they just leaned in trying to modernize Trigun. I feel like overall that's what the goal
Yeah.
was.
Well, obviously, because they're doing things that they couldn't possibly do back in the late '90s. So now they're
Mhm.
making uh, full use of the assets available to them with the 3D models of the ships, with the weaponry, um, the visualizations as we're kind of panning around the fights as they happen. So it kind of gives those action scenes extra pop that we
Mhm.
wouldn't have got back in the day. So it's a good update. A lot of the complaints I see have to do with changes to some of the characters or different roles. Like I said, that really didn't matter to me. I think we don't have Millie yet in this series, which
Mhm.
was a character that was with the one of the ladies who are in the insurance company, which isn't the one. Basically, they replaced Millie with the guy who smokes the cigarettes in the car that keeps calling the other lady newbie the whole
Mhm.
time, and she keeps repeatedly giving her name to him, and he just keeps calling her newbie the entire time. Like newbie, you need to get just get used to it. Don't worry about it. It'll happen. How long have you been here? Yeah, that's what I thought. You don't know much yet. It takes another puff, and she's just getting really aggravated with him as they follow these characters around, like they're just following them to get a story. So that changed, I guess, because I wasn't as invested in the OG Trigun, that it didn't really bother me that much that they had flipped these two characters out from the reporters from the insurance company employees that are following Vast Stampede around.
Okay, I understand. So is there all right, the insurance people that you're saying are from the original, you're saying they've replaced them with reporters.
One of them,
One of them.
the dark haired girl who's in the car
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that he keeps calling newbie.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was in the original, but she was like kind of subservient to this. She keeps calling her senpai in the original.
Mhm.
It says ma'am when you look at the
Mhm.
subtitle. She keeps saying senpai because it's someone she either adores in some way or looks up to. And but they're both employees of this insurance company.
Gotcha.
In the new one, instead of working for an insurance company, they're reporters following a lead on a story. And then the first part of the lead is she's got like this booklet out and she has the flyer for the wanted poster for Vash the Stampede. And they're
Mhm.
trying to see either this character or what's causing all this destruction, these rumors of the human tornado. Um, that's one of the main differences I've heard and seen online that people complain about is that change from the insurance company to the reporters and the fact that Millie isn't there.
Gotcha. Are the insurance characters in the original, are they comedic? Like I feel like a duo of some employees of an insurance company trying to follow this guy to
It is, yeah. It's kind of a weird situation. Like it'd be like if you or I were known for just getting stuff destroyed, and so we had insurance assessors. All of a sudden, part of their job was just to follow us around as we wreak havoc.
I feel like that should be a Marvel show. I feel like we need a Marvel show of some insurance adjusters that follow around the Avengers.
Yeah, Marvel's claim adjusters who
Hmm.
just follow after New York City and all the other was it the Wakovian Accords and all that. Yeah, they
Yeah,
just
the Sokovian Accords.
COVID, yeah, just
Hmm.
follow them around as they destroy stuff and assess the damage and bill people. Here's the
Yeah,
bill for you and Sword and Shield, and here's your bill for the Avengers for
like
destroying everything.
I can see a whole show of episodes of their grievances, like just more like accumulating all the way up until the Sokovia Accords, where it was like enough. They got enough outrage, and people fed up to be like, look, the government got to do something about this. Y'all need to shut it down.
But what about people that from the snap that got paid for life
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then they got blipped back? And so you got paid the money for somebody disappearing and dying,
yep.
and now the person has showed up. So do you now owe that insurance money back?
I want a show. I want that Marvel show. That's and I want it to be just two people mainly, just getting more and more agitated and tired.
So you're trying to figure out a way how to get flow into the MCU is what you're telling me.
That would be great. I would
Yeah,
love that. I want that. I
yeah.
want that expeditiously right now.
Well, now that Anchor has changed to Spotify for podcasters, we have lost our OG sponsorship with Anchor, but we have our own sponsor. So if you'd like to help the channel out, go to toughraps.com. Enter Jack's Writer as a discount code for a 10% discount on your workout gear. I use them mostly for wrist wraps. They have back braces, lifting belts, and things of that nature to help you get your workout on for all you health-minded nerds out there that are still working out and hitting the gym and getting those gains and trying to reach the level 9,000 and things of that nature. Remember, the code is Jacked Writer, JACKED WRITER. Yeah, it's the code for a 10% discount, and we'll appreciate it because you'll be helping us out. Are you going to watch the rest of the series, the new one?
I think I am. I got the little 14-day trial because I can only watch Trigun with a premium account. So I had to get
Okay.
I had to get the trial. So I'm gonna finish watching it. I'm definitely interested. Vash is a very interesting character. I'm interested in the dynamic between him and his brother now. I want to know what's going on with the arm.
Yeah, that too. You don't really get much of that in this first episode. You just see
Yeah.
them because you see there are two of them in the very beginning,
Hmm.
and then for the most part, you don't see Knives
Mm-mm.
at all in this first episode. I think Vash may kind of make mention of his brother, but you don't find out till later. Spoiler alert! That yeah, the plants that are running everything in that city may have come off the ship that they were on. I'm not sure. They don't actually they don't spell that one out, but that's kind of what's implied when you hear later conversations of them, and the brother is like, "I'm taking this because it's mine," and then he corrects himself. He's like, "This is ours. These are our plants." So wherever the plants came from, that I want to know where these plants are that can run cities like a nuclear power plant, and everything is just good. We need them plants, and we need to get them plants, and we need to feed them and give energy to the world. It would be a lot safer probably than most of the stuff that we're doing right now.
I feel like that's like Final Fantasy VII, like what the Shinra company has done with those plants, but they just added a bunch of capitalism on top of the plants, and it's weird. But
Yeah,
I'm I'm interested in that. Like this is not. I I didn't know anything about Trigun at all until you were like, "This is what we're talking about today."
yeah.
Like I've seen mention of Trigun. I've seen that character. Like I visually I recognize him in the title of Trigun, but I
Yeah.
had no idea what this was about. I thought this show was about mechs, but it sounds like it is a space western opera kind of.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Also, it's kind of funny, like in the OG series, I like that the episodes are short, like 24 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
They don't really know who he is. It's kind of weird when everybody's walking around with the poster that shows you exactly what this dude looks like. But the OG series, there's a guy talking about him like he's a rumor running around in this bar,
Mm.
and he's sitting at the bar, like literally sitting with them as the patrons around are talking smack about him and how he's the human tornado. Destruction follows him wherever he goes. And then all of a sudden, a character with this huge boomerang knocks the top of the bar, like cuts the whole bar in half, like roof, everything splits off of the bar. And
Wow.
then they start shooting the place up. And everybody breaks wide. And the only one standing is Vash. He's still sitting there at his stool. As the dust settles, his drink in his hand, sets it down, he stands up, and that's when he runs out and kind of confronts the group of bounty hunters. And gets to a point where one bounty hunter, I think he's either a cop or he's talking to a cop in another city that's been destroyed, but he asks what he looks like. He says, short legs with a mohawk in red, but he's giant. And so it's like that's not really what he looks like. He's got a large like trench coat. But how are you going to have short legs and be a giant at the same time as the rest?
Yeah.
Like he's got a really long torso, and so he ends up running into another bounty hunter that's really large with a big weapon. But the big weapon is the boomerang and not the gun. And he does have a mohawk, but his hair is green. So it's kind of funny that various characters, like none of these characters knew exactly what Vash the Stampede looked like to identify him when they had eyes on him. So it's this real, and again, that kind of plays into the slapstick aspect of it, like the goofy comedy. As you got three groups of people, none of them know what he exactly looks like, but all of them are dead sure that they know that this is the person. So one's captured Vash, the other one is trying to capture the bounty hunter that captured Vash, and the insurance company also misidentifies the one bounty hunter as Vash. And you don't have that in the new series. They just kind of slowly find out about him later. But I think he introduces himself, and then the reporters in the new series realize this is Vash. And then I think the one character is like observing him and he doesn't seem like much. Because he does seem like a non-assuming guy. He's kind of a skinny, lanky dude he's got
Yeah.
the bionic arm, he's got the little glasses,
Hmm.
and the little blonde hair with a fade. But it's like she's probably looking at him like he doesn't look like much, and destruction can't really follow him around, as they say, until things start happening. I'm trying to remember the which bounty hunter comes to them at the bar that they go to in the first episode. Is it the old man with his son that's kind of a mech, or is that later?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
If you're not sure, then that's probably not what happened in the very first episode.
Okay. I
Because you
know
definitely
somebody
remember
came. I
that.
think I know somebody came, but I don't think it was two people. I think it's one person. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I mean, I'm wondering now who left him in the desert, like with $60 billion on his head, for the reporter to have him just strung up in the desert.
Yeah.
Like they already caught him at that point. If you've already been caught, then why not turn him in for the money?
See, I'm so interested. I'm so interested. There's a lot of things happening that I just didn't expect at all. Like I thought that, once he got to, when he was strung up and he turns around, he kind of lets out this cackle, and I was like, oh, okay. And then we see the flyer, of the bounty on his head, and I was like, all right, we're about to get into it. We're about to
Yeah.
see what's going on with him. And then he's just this goofy guy who really doesn't. He sounds like he doesn't really know just what's going. He's just bopping around from place to place. But
Yeah.
I'm so interested in like what the story is. I feel like even if this show, like this remake, has taken itself like a little bit more seriously, I also feel like it's not taking itself that seriously.
Yeah.
But I am hopeful like I feel like the story of the show will be good, but I also don't feel like it'll be like swept over with sadness and taking away humor entirely.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Well, for compare, I only made that mention earlier because for comparison to the OG show, I felt like this one is taking itself more serious than the original. It wasn't that I
Hmm.
thought this one was super serious. They still have its goofy moments. It's just more moderation for those aspects with the new version of Trigun versus the old Trigun. It was very wacky and just kind of outlandish and extra for the sake of being extra, which I think was the norm anyway for anime back in the day. That's
Yeah.
how it always is.
Yeah. See, now I have to watch it because that's my jam. It's just when it's just like it feels campy almost. It feels like a little bit campy.
Definitely, yeah, that would be a very accurate assessment for the OG one. Um, but I like this new one. I hope they get another season. I hope they continue the story so we can see, and I'll probably compare because I've been doing that now with all the everything old has become new again. It seems like they're doing all these remakes of the old stuff because they come with almost like a built-in following. So I feel like maybe they're thinking the view, even like the people around my age, will reach out to the younger generation and be like, "Oh, they're redoing something that I liked from back in the day. Let's remix this, and then we can kind of capture both." And it's like there's a strange dichotomy I think that we have that you can't appease everybody. You're gonna piss one or the other off. It seems like so,
Hmm.
and that's for me. That's been the thing with everything that has a large following from back in the day that they're kind of redoing. You got the folks that will be like, "Well, this isn't my version because I grew up and they've changed all this," and then you may have the folks that have never even been aware that it existed at all and they're simply just happy with what they've been presented. So
Hmm.
they love it for what it is. And then you got like the OG crowd who is kind of hankering against it for what it's not. It's like, just enjoy what you get in my
Yeah.
eyes. Like they gave you the OG. If you want the OG, go back and watch that. You can just totally ignore this if that's how you feel. I don't see why people get so emotionally invested in things like that.
Yeah, I can understand that, like, that kind of critique when the remake of the thing is like it's clear in what is presented that like who wrote it did not like the original content or does not care about the
Sounds like you're. I don't know if this is what you're alluding to. It sounds like that's an allusion to Cowboy Bebop.
I didn't see I can't speak to that because
Okay.
I
Well, that's exactly what you just stated. Is what happened. The
okay,
original creator of Cowboy Bebop, basically the show on Netflix, the live action version was
right.
panned across the board quickly. It got shut down and canceled
I
like
saw
almost immediately. And then after that, the creator came out and said, I couldn't even watch after the first episode. This was surely not Cowboy Bebop, and then left it at that. And then people that agree with that just all kind of dogpiled on. But
that is so crazy. Like, how do you? I'm so curious how this happens. Like, how do you get to work on a show, specifically a remake of a thing, and you don't like the source material? Like, you don't like or even care about what is going on, so you don't respect it, and you're you don't, you just decide to do your own thing. I don't understand how that happens. It's
I
crazy.
think it's this era because we're going to make what we think is going to be accepted. Not necessarily we're going to stick to and continue to pay homage to the original IP. This is what we're doing now. We think this is going to work. We're going to roll with it. And if you're not with the progression of what we're trying to do, then too bad. I think that's part of the thing with Henry Cavill and the Witcher series.
Hmm.
Him and the producers, I guess, were bumping heads because he was
He's a
a
fan.
stickler for sticking to what was in the books and the games, which are based on the books, and that's why that had a claim. So I guess he was stopping them every time something would pop up in the show that would went against the grain of what he thought it should be going to. So he became like a headache with them.
And that's unfortunate because to me, it sounds like he was a fan of that series and also he felt responsible for that character that he was portraying. And so I feel like probably what happened is that every time a moment in the script would come up for him that was like probably directly not what Geralt would do,
Yeah,
he said something about it and like, hey, this is not congruent. Can we do something about this? It's the same thing with the Wednesday show on Netflix.
yeah,
She had spoke about like the show itself to me doesn't feel like a very Addams Family show,
yeah,
but Wednesday feels right. And that was because of her, because she spoke up about moments where there were times that like, this is not Wednesday, this is not what would happen, it's not what she would do.
yeah.
And you can tell where that stuff comes into play. I'm hopeful though, like you said you hadn't watched The Last of Us. You should, because I feel like this show is such a good example, is an excellent example
Yeah.
of like when the writers care, like when the people really respect the source material, um, and care about like just taking what is great about the source material and using the new medium that they're like transferring it to, like using that to tell the story even better. And I feel like that's what's happened with that show. So I'm excited for you to watch it whenever you
Well,
do.
I think that's to be expected because I believe Neil Druckmann is actually has something to do with the show as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it makes sense that they would be more faithful. The only reason I haven't watched it, like I said, is because I told you off camera that I hadn't played the games, and I
I
haven't.
haven't either. I never will. It's too scary. But I watched
But,
the
yeah, but for me, it's like I think it carries a little more weight when you know exactly what's supposed to be going on and you're more familiarized. Like I have this with the wife sometimes when we're watching stuff, we're watching Star Wars or something else, and I get really excited and I become that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's sitting there pointing at the screen and she's just sitting there looking at me like I don't get why you're that excited about whatever just happened. Like it's doing nothing for me, but obviously it has some significance because you're really excited about it. And I
Mhm.
want to have that. So that's the only reason why I haven't watched is because I want to go through the games and then play both of them and then maybe I'll sit down and watch the show. So
Gotcha.
that's all. I'll get to it. And we have so much in our backlog to watch. So that's
Same.
part of the problem too.
I
Mhm.
understand.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chopping it up with me about Trigun, the Stampede. I'm sure we'll find other things to talk about in the coming weeks. I think we'll actually be off for a few weeks as both my other co-hosts will be gone and are busy with things. We got cons kicking up again, getting ready for GalaxyCon. I think not this weekend, but next weekend coming, the
Yeah.
24th to the 26th, actually. So we're gearing up for that. And new comics are here. The original cover
A
and the alternate cover proof just came. I approved these for Yombani Chronicles today, so I'm hoping to get copies of those for both the Kickstarter backers as well as to sell with me at the convention. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify. I almost said Anchor for Spotify for podcasters. In the description of this episode, we'll have a link to both my websites so you can check out my books, comics, and graphic novels. Also, Jocelyn Shorts, the link to her website will be available as well, so you can click on that and check her art out. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us chop it up. And thank you. We'll talk to you all, I would say next week, but I'm not sure. So we'll see
see
you
y'all
when we see
soon.
you. Yeah, to be continued. Peace.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Not a problem. Thanks for being here. Talk to you all soon.